In 2024, Sony released a shooter that took 8 years and, by some accounts, hundreds of millions of dollars to build. It survived 14 days. Every buyer got a refund and the studio no longer exists. 8 months later, a first-time French studio with a core team of about 30 people shipped a turn-based RPG built for less than $10 million. It sold 500,000 copies in 3 days, then millions more, and spent award season collecting Game of the Year nominations. Those two games even shared the same game engine. Two results so far apart that every publisher on the planet spent the next year asking one question: what exactly are we paying for? The answer hides in how these two games were actually made, and it's not the answer most headlines gave you. On paper, Concord was the least risky project Sony could fund, a hero shooter, the genre that printed money for Overwatch, a team stacked with veterans from Bungie, the studio behind Destiny and Halo, a publisher betting billions on live service games, and hungry for its own Fortnite. Sony liked the pitch enough to sign a publishing deal reported at just over $200 million, then bought the entire studio in 2023. Insiders later floated numbers as high as $400 million for the full cost. This was one of the most expensive games PlayStation had ever funded. The game itself, by most technical accounts, worked fine. Reviewers called the gunplay tight and the controls responsive. Concord's problem was that no one had a reason to pick it over the free alternatives it copied. The warning came early. Concord's free open beta drew only a few thousand concurrent players. For a multiplayer game whose entire business depends on full lobbies, that number was a fire alarm. The game launched anyway, at $40, into a market where every direct competitor cost nothing. Launch day peaked at 697 concurrent players on Steam. Total sales landed around 25,000 copies. For comparison, Suicide Squad, the industry's other famous live service disaster that year, looked like a hit next to this. 11 days after launch, Sony announced the shutdown. On day 14, the servers went dark, every copy was refunded, and Concord became the shortest-lived major release in modern gaming. That October, Sony closed Firewalk entirely. While Concord was burning through its budget, a group of former Ubisoft developers in Montpellier was building the opposite kind of project. Sandfall Interactive kept its core team around 30 people and made a series of decisions that all pointed the same direction. Spend nothing on scale, spend everything on identity. No custom technology. Unreal Engine 5 out of the box, with the team openly saying a game like this would have been impossible for 30 people just 5 years earlier. Even the rocks tell the story. The artists pulled free asset packs from Epic's marketplace, then repainted and reshaped them until they belonged to the game's Belle Epoque France. Generic base, distinctive surface, zero wasted hours. The one thing Sandfall refused to compromise was the thing no marketplace sells: a visual and tonal identity nobody could mistake for another game. Turn-based combat with real-time parries. A world that looked like a painting instead of a tech demo. That's where 30 people spent their years. When Expedition 33 blew up, Jeff Keighley opened Summer Game Fest calling it a monumental achievement by a team of under 30 developers. The internet ran with it, proof that a tiny room of geniuses can beat a $400 million machine. The developers themselves pushed back, and this is the part of the story that matters most. Roll the credits and you'll find Korean gameplay animators, the Polish studio QLOC handling quality assurance, Ebb Software supporting the ports, Riot Lock running localization, plus performance capture teams, an orchestra, and a choir. Industry voices warned that repeating the 30-person myth was a dangerous path because it erases the exact structure that made the game possible. The real lesson isn't small team beats big team. It's this: a compact core that owns the creative vision, multiplied by specialist external teams who handle everything else. Concord carried the full weight of a corporation. Expedition 33 carried a clear idea and rented the muscle. Run the math and it stops looking like a David and Goliath story and starts looking like an accounting error. Expedition 33 recovered its development budget many times over within weeks. Concord's budget, whatever the true number between 200 and 400 million, bought 14 days of service. The difference was what each budget purchased. Concord's money went into scale, 8 years of salaries, an acquisition, a live service roadmap for a game nobody had validated with real players. Sandfall's money went into a testable idea, a sharp vertical slice, a distinct art style, and external partners plugged in exactly where the core team ran out of hands. One of these games answered its most dangerous question: would anyone want this for the price of a prototype? The other answered it at full retail, in public, 2 weeks after launch. The industry spent a year debating team sizes. The real variable was structure, a small core with total creative clarity and external specialists carrying the production load. That model shipped a Game of the Year contender for less than the marketing budget of the game it outlived. This is exactly the model Kevuru Games exists for. Studios keep the vision. We bring the production capacity, full art pipelines, animation, QA, and prototypes built in 1 to 2 months. So the most expensive question in game development gets answered before the money is spent, not after. 13 years on the side of the equation that works.